I am at just a total loss for words right now. Of course, I have a lot to say. It's just, I don't even know where to start. This is honestly the most shocked I have ever been watching postseason baseball, maybe sports in general, whether it was playoffs or regular season. When I started watching sports, baseball in particular, it didn't take me long to realize that nobody always gets a happy ending. In fact, most of the time there isn't a happy ending. Cinderella stories don't always end with a happily ever after, and way more often than not, there is heartbreak. So every time October rolls around, one of if not the best times of the year, I never go into it feeling like I know what's going to happen. And if you ever do go into postseason baseball feeling like you know what's going to happen, you're either brand new to baseball or just straight up delusional, because you just can't ever predict what will happen. Ever. So I'm well aware of that. I know a lot of the time to just expect the most unexpected thing to happen because baseball is so damn chaotic. With that said, despite me fully understanding this, I would have bet my entire life savings that the Philadelphia Phillies were going to beat the Diamondbacks in the NLCS, and I was also pretty sure and confident that they were going to win whoever they played in the World Series too, whether it was a rematch with Houston or the Rangers. It didn't matter to me. The 2023 Phillies felt just like the 2015 Royals to me, in a sense where they were just coming off an improbable playoff run just to come up short in the World Series, but were back hungrier and better this year. And after they took down the Braves yet again in the NLDS, it just felt like it was bound to happen. It was Phillies' year. Speaking of the World Series, if you want to go to a game, I can help you with that. Finding last-minute tickets or just trying to find good deals for tickets in general, not being completely sure if I was getting a good deal, have sometimes become a hassle for me, and I know I'm not the only one. But you'll no longer have to worry about this with Game Time, which is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, whatever events your heart desires near you, with great last-minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time really helps with finding great last-minute deals, lowest prices possible, event cancellation, and job loss protection. Game Time is just all about finding ways to save you money. They're great, convenient, and just makes the overall experience of finding good deals on tickets less stressful, and it could be even cheaper for you. All you need to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code iTalk for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the Game Time app, create an account, and redeem code iTalk, that's ITALK, for $20 off your first purchase. Now, back to the video. Citizens Bank Park was really looking like kryptonite to any team no matter who it was. I mean, they were just unbeatable at this place. So freaking good, and the moment the NLCS started, everything I and everyone thought was just confirmed. It took literally one pitch, and the Phillies had the lead on a Kyle Schwarber first pitch ambush, demolishing a baseball into the right field stands. 2 batters later, Bryce Harper then went deep. Nick Castellanos continued his home run tear by hitting another one. The Phillies eventually went ahead 5-0, and although the D-backs did actually make the game interesting, scoring 3 runs, nobody thought they were going to win this game, and they didn't win this game. Unfortunately for the Phillies, Kyle Schwarber did not homer to kick off the offense in Game 2, but no worries, Trey Turner did it instead, smacking a bomb to give the Phillies another quick 1-0 lead. And Kyle Schwarber may not have homered in the first, but he did homer again, twice, with the Phillies going on to score 10 runs while also shutting down the D-backs offense. Zach Wheeler did his thing in Game 1, getting the win, and Aaron Nola did the same for Game 2. The Phillies now have a 2-0 lead in the series, outscoring the D-backs 15-3 in the first 2 games. There's a party at the bank. Philly is going wild, everyone is singing Callum Scott's version and remix of Dancing on My Own, and everyone is also getting ready for the World Series. The fans, even the players, had it at least in the back of their minds, with backup catcher Garrett Stubbs mentioning that he and the boys will be having a pool party at the Chase Field pool in Arizona if they clinch the pennant there. Some Philly fans were even going as far as to make their voices heard on the road. It was expected that there would be a good number of Phillies fans in Arizona for Games 3, 4, and 5. But since the tickets were so cheap, a few other fans decided to buy a ton of tickets just to keep them empty, or give them to Phillies fans. They weren't even planning to go to the games. Did this end up affecting the games in Arizona? No, not at all. The D-backs, despite not scoring a run, kept things scoreless and tied until the 7th inning when Bryce Harper would score on a wild pitch. At this point, I'm thinking, well, this close game was fun while it lasted, but the Phillies probably win this game. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. had something to say about that, though, smacking an RBI double to tie it, and the game would remain tied all the way until the 9th inning. And in would come Craig Kimbrell in a non-save situation, who just continues to be one of the worst in non-save situations, getting into trouble as a Ketel Marte base hit would end things, walking it off and giving the D-backs their first win of the NLCS. As fun as that was, it was probably the last. Okay, cool, you won one game. You're still down 2-1 and bound to lose the series anyway, and the Phillies would come back from a 2-run deficit and Game 4 with Kyle Schwarber hitting a bomb. Brandon Marsh then drove home a run to tie it, and the Phillies just continued to chip away, with Alec Bohm driving in 2 runs to give his team the lead. Trey Turner then hits a sac fly, and again, you're thinking, yeah, the Phillies have this game in the bag. They're going to be up 3-1 in the series, and that's that. But the D-backs then began to chip away on their own, forcing home a run on a walk in the 7th to make it 5-3, and in the bottom of the 8th with a man on second, Alek Thomas would connect on a fastball from none other than Craig Kimbrell, sending it over the wall in right center into the pool, tying the game up. This was later followed with a run-scoring hit to give the D-backs the lead, and all of a sudden, they were just 3 outs away from tying the series up. With Kyle Schwarber hitting a double and representing the tying run on second, Trey Turner would strike out to end the game. But, as expected, did anyone really think the Phillies would lose all 3 in Arizona? Of course not. And they immediately put 2 up on the board. Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper would hit baseballs into outer space back-to-back. JT Realmuto then hit a 2-run shot to extend the lead to 6-1, and that was it. A blowout in Game 5, the Phils are up 3-2, heading back home to arguably the rowdiest and most hostile crowd in baseball. The fact that there was even a Game 6 was crazy on its own, but whatever. The D-backs made it a little more interesting than we all thought. That was cute, but it's time to officially see the Phillies win the pennant again. Game 6 then began. The crowd is, of course, as rowdy and hectic as ever, waiting and ready to erupt, seeing their team win another pennant. And I want to take you to an actual conversation I had with myself during the beginning of Game 6. So I'm sitting down watching the game. It's 0-0 at this point, and I literally said out loud that there is just no way the Phillies lose this series. There's just no way. I said that I would go as far as to bet my life savings and everything I own that the Phillies were going to the World Series. I had the same exact thought going into the series, and now the Phillies are up 3-2 at the bank. There is zero chance this falls apart, and I truly deep down inside felt that. Because again, the Phillies had an unexpected and improbable run last year, came up just short, went back and beat the Braves again. Everyone is having a grand old time in Philly. Every fan, every player, everyone and anyone associated with this team. Dancing on My Own continued to blare and be sung by everyone. The vibes couldn't have been higher. So I'm sitting here watching the very beginning of this game, and I tell myself, I say out loud with nobody around me because that's how much of a maniac that I am, that I have never been more confident in a team winning a series in my entire life than the Phillies against the Diamondbacks. And I am so serious when I say that. I'm not just saying this for shock value. As for any proof I can find, here are some tweets I put out more than a week ago. This reminds me of how confident I was in the Nationals beating the Cardinals in the 2019 NLCS. D-backs never had a chance. One of the most obvious sweeps or at least series wins ever. I hate saying it, but it's just true. Then I said if the Dodgers had beaten the D-backs, the same thing would be going on right now. Nobody is beating the Phillies. And then I tripled down, saying the Phillies right now are Thanos in Infinity War, or Darkseid, or Darth Vader at his peak. You're just not going to beat them. Too OP, aka overpowered. There's just no chance. I get that the D-backs swept the Brewers. I get that they then followed that up with a sweep of the 100-win Dodgers. I know. but the Phillies' vibes were just too powerful. They weren't going to lose, and I never felt even in the slightest that they would. So I was just hoping for the D-backs to at least make things interesting. My stance on Game 6 was that the Phillies were going to win, obviously, but even if the D-backs miraculously brought this to a Game 7, the Phillies were going to blow them out. It wasn't going to be close. Not long after I said this out loud, Tommy Pham then went deep, 1-0 Arizona. Next up, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and he then went deep, back-to-back, 2-0 Arizona. Evan Longoria then doubled home a run, 3-0 Arizona. Brandon Marsh would drive in a run that same inning to put the Phillies on the board, and here they come. This was it for the D-backs, right? Nope, because Merrill Kelly would have his redemption game. After giving up 3 bombs in Game 2 as the D-backs lost 10-0, Kelly went back out there in front of that same hostile crowd and pitched his heart out. Other than Marsh driving home 1 run, Kelly would go 5 strong innings, striking out 8, being taken out after those 5, something he was not happy about. And again, another moment where you're thinking, here we go. This is going to cost the D-backs, Philly's going to come back, win the pennant as expected, but nope. The D-backs bullpen kept it quiet, throwing a combined 4 shutout innings to end the game as the Snakes added 2 more runs in the process, winning the game 5-1 and forcing a Game 7. The fact that the D-backs even forced this series back to Philly and didn't watch the Phillies clinch on their field was a surprise on its own. But now they not only went back to Philly, but won Game 6, forcing a winner-take-all Game 7, the first Game 7 in Phillies history. Wild stuff. It was a fun ride, Arizona. You guys really stretched this out as far as you possibly could, but again, this is the Phillies' year. The vibes will prevail.
Game 7 tomorrow night! Let's go, Billy!
The D-backs immediately manufactured a run to make it 1-0, but in the bottom of the second, Alec Bohm wasted no time to smash a game-tying home run. Here we go. This is where the Phillies take off. The game is still tied in the bottom of the 4th before Alec Bohm would be driven home on a Bryson Stott ball into the gap, and the Phillies have the lead. Then JT Realmuto singles. And in the moment while watching this, I said to myself that if the D-backs somehow won this game, you're going to have to look back at this inning and see that they kept the Phillies from running away with this. There's just 1 out, guys on the corners, the Phillies already have the lead. This is where things take a turn for the worst if you're Arizona, and where things take a turn for the best if you're Philly. But a couple of strikeouts would end the inning, keeping the deficit to just 1 run for Arizona. Again, like I said, that was huge. That very well could have been an inning where things really got away from the D-backs, but they didn't. And then they immediately answered right back by scoring 2 runs in the 5th, retaking the lead. Skip to the 7th, it's still 3-2 D-backs, and Corbin Carroll would continue his big night, driving home his 2nd RBI, this time on a sac fly, to make it 4-2. Then comes the bottom of the 7th, and this was the last time the Phillies offense showed any potential life. After Brandon Marsh started it off by striking out, Christian Pache would come off the bench and work a walk. Next up, Kyle Schwarber, and he would also work a walk. So now we got 1st and 2nd, 1 out, and up comes Trey Turner with Bryce Harper on deck. So in this chess match that is a Game 7, Torey Lovullo would come out and bring in Kevin Ginkel. Now, there's some context to Kevin Ginkel here that I really think is important. Kevin Ginkel is a 29-year-old journeyman who never showed that much promise or success over the last several years, being taken off the 40-man roster after the 2021 season, got picked back up by the D-backs for 2022, entered the 2023 season with a career ERA over 4, and was demoted to AAA as recently as this past June. 4 months ago, this dude was riding buses and playing in AAA. Skip ahead to now, and he has become one of, if not the most important part of this Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen. Coming into Game 7, Ginkel hadn't allowed a single run through his first 7 appearances in this year's postseason. He was great against the Brewers in the wildcard series, he was great against the Dodgers in the division series, he had been great against the Phillies in this championship series, but this was going to be a big test for the journeyman. Trey Turner and Bryce Harper with 2 runners on in a 2-run ball game. He'd get Trey Turner to fly out, same with Bryce Harper, putting an end to the Phillies rally, and the D-backs were now just 6 outs away. Ginkel would come back out for the 8th inning, and he'd strike out Alec Bohm, and then he'd strike out Bryson Stott, and then he'd strike out JT Realmuto, silencing the Philadelphia crowd even more. 3 outs away. The score remained 4-2 heading into the bottom of the 9th inning, and I kid you not, I still felt like a Phillies win was coming. I just kind of envisioned it happening. There was no way everything was about to end for this team, for this city, for this playoff run, for this entire 2023 Phillies season. I started to envision a comeback and a walk-off for the Phillies, realizing that this was how it was supposed to be the whole time. The Phillies were always going to win the series, it just happened in way more dramatic fashion. But they were going to do it. They had to, right? It wouldn't make sense. In comes Paul Sewald, the D-backs closer, and another guy who has been nails this postseason out of their bullpen. Just like Ginkel, no runs allowed in his first 7 appearances up until Game 7. Up comes Nick Castellanos, and he'd hit a lazy fly ball to right, 1 out. Then Brandon Marsh, a lazy fly ball to left, 2 out. And I'm sitting here thinking, is this real life? Is this actually happening? I still couldn't believe it. I never once throughout this entire series felt that the Phillies were going to lose the series. Not one time. Maybe they'd lose a game. Maybe 2 games, but that felt like a stretch. Yet here we are in Game 7 with the Arizona Diamondbacks just a single out away from doing the impossible. And as Corbin Carroll settled under another lazy fly ball, making the catch and winning the pennant for the Arizona Diamondbacks, a vital lesson hit me like a freaking train. The Arizona Diamondbacks did not accomplish the impossible. What they were able to do this entire series, never truly getting put away by this Phillies team, continuing to fight, forcing the series back to Philly, and then winning games 6 and 7 on the road in that very same hostile Philly crowd that owned them at the beginning of the series, all of that was always possible. It may not have seemed like it at any point to any of us fans or outsiders looking in, but the entire D-backs organization, from the ownership to the front office who built this roster, from the coaching staff led by manager Torey Lovullo, and every single one of the players, they never lost faith. Ever. I've been watching baseball for a long time, long enough to know to never think or assume you know what the outcome is going to be. Yet here I was, discrediting the Diamondbacks from the get-go, and throughout the entire series. I literally said out loud I'd bet my life savings that the Phillies win. I said out loud that I've never been more confident in a team winning a series than the Phillies against the D-backs. And I obviously was not alone. Nobody expected the D-backs to prevail. Yet here we are with this team reminding us in the strongest way possible that anything is possible and to never give up. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the damn truth. And as for the Phillies, holy hell, man, there is so much that went wrong here. Forget the on-field play for a second. The fact that there was even a thought that they would be celebrating in the Diamondbacks pool after clinching in Arizona was absurd. I mean, as fans, we can think that, and I get it was also the backup catcher who said it, but man, that's bad. And on top of that, if I hear Dancing on My Own one more time, I'm gonna lose it. When will these guys learn? The Red Sox had Dancing on My Own as their postseason rally song in 2021, only to lose to the Astros. The Phillies picked it up for 2022, only to lose to the Astros. That's 2 years in a row where that song didn't work, yet they decided to bring it back for their 2023 postseason run. I guess they went with the third time's a charm mentality, but instead of them losing to the Astros again, they'd lose in the NLCS to these D-backs. This song needs to have the Voldemort treatment from this point forward, and it's not even just the Phillies. The song is cursed. Stop using it. Don't even mention it. And as for the on-field play, talk about just falling apart offensively. To start, Nick Castellanos hit a home run in his first at-bat of the series. And that was it. Seriously, Castellanos did not get a hit the rest of the series. But it's really what happened in the final 2 games, which of course both took place at what was once deemed by everyone, including me, as a place where nobody could beat the Phillies. With a 3-2 series lead at home, the Phillies were able to score a total of just 3 runs for games 6 and 7. They went 2-17 with runners in scoring position. Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner, and Bryce Harper would combine to go 0 for 23 in these last 2 games, and to somehow make it even uglier, if you want to add JT Realmuto and Kyle Schwarber to the 3 names I just mentioned, so Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, and Nick Castellanos would combine to go 3 for 36 in these final 2 games. 3 for 36. Let that sink in. That is a complete choke job if I've ever seen one. This was a series the Phillies were always supposed to win, or at least expected to win by everyone. And for those big guns to go out as quietly as they did is insane to think about. But you gotta give all the credit in the world to the D-backs pitching, whether it was Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, the rookie, who was great in both of his outings, Game 3 and Game 7. I mean, Pfaadt is a dude who was terrible in the regular season. Terrible numbers. Yet he has shown up in this postseason along with everyone else. The unsung hero, Kevin Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, the side armor, Paul Sewald, the closer, 3 guys who weren't even a part of this bullpen to start the year. It took a few games, but Corbin Carroll finally balled out, getting 3 hits in Game 7 and stealing a couple of bases. Ketel Marte, the NLCS MVP, is now, to me, the most underrated player in baseball, period. The dude has now set a record for getting a hit in every single postseason game he's ever played. Just unreal stuff by someone who's always been good, but now getting the attention he truly deserves. Everyone contributed to this, and it was beautiful to see. It was also stunning, maybe as stunned and shell-shocked as I have ever been watching sports. MLB reporter and insider Jeff Passan deemed the series to be over for the Diamondbacks after their fans started doing the wave in Game 5, having to go back and eat his own words and do a follow-up by saying, "The most painful thing I've ever typed. Wave 1, Passan 0. I will no longer doubt its power. Wave on, Arizona. You earned it." Longtime radio and TV host Chris Mad Dog Russo was so confident that the Phillies were going to win this series that he went on radio and said that if the Phillies blew it, he would retire on the spot.
I'm stunned they beat Milwaukee. I thought they'd get swept by the Dodgers. I never thought they'd even go back to Philly for a Game 6. I would not be stunned if they won tonight. I would be floored. And I'll say this right now. Write it down. If they win the next 2 days and win this series in 7 games, I will retire on the spot.
And this was what D-backs manager Torey Lovullo had to say in response to that.
I would love to see him quit if we won today. There's nothing better than a wise guy New Yorker saying something than having to chomp on those words. He's a friend of mine. I love Mad Dog. I think you just internally use it as motivation. When you can prove some people wrong, and we all walk around with chips on our shoulder, and I guarantee everybody in this room has been told by somebody that they couldn't do something, and it led you down this road to be great. I know that there's underwriting theme here that we, A, don't deserve to be here, B, that we're gonna get our butts kicked. There's bullies all over the National League that can manhandle us. It really excites me to know that we're playing in Game 7 and we're right on the verge of doing something that's unbelievable, and we love proving naysayers wrong.
The snakes are alive. They're more than alive. They are here, and they have finally made the ultimate statement. They have shocked the world. They've left the entire city of Philadelphia in stunned silence and are going to the World Series. As for the Phillies, they are dead. There is no tomorrow for 2023. There is no time left. They had this series seemingly the entire way, never having it truly feel like they were going to lose. Yet here we are with their biggest, most expensive bats going silent in the most crucial time possible. And with that, one of the most, maybe the most, improbable and shocking endings to a playoff series in baseball and sports history. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching and for making it this far, especially if you are a Phillies fan.